welcome to my channel if you love cookies. My name is Erin, and today I'm doing my Sketchbook Slam Challenge tour. So just a real quick note on my Sketchbook Slam Challenge, for those who are maybe new to my channel or didn't watch the rest of my videos on the topic. For mine, because I prefer spiral-bound sketchbooks rather than book-bound sketchbooks, I went out and instead of buying the big, large sketchbook that Holly Brown suggested on her channel, I just went out and I got a ream paper and I took it to a print shop and I had it spiral bound. It is a really great, cheap way to get yourself a sketchbook if you are in the market for a sketchbook. Plus, you can choose whatever paper you want to choose to put in it, which is definitely a plus. But yeah, so because of that, my sketchbook is only 8.5 by 11. I think the sketchbook that the others used were 11 by 12 or something like that. And so in order to compensate for the reduced dimensions, I put in some extra pages towards the end. And so I think my total page count was 662 rather than just 600. So hopefully that balances things out a little bit. I also like, when I draw in larger sketchbooks versus smaller sketchbooks, so this is the size that I usually use because it's nice and portable. I usually just scale it up or down. Like the amount of content that I draw in my sketchbooks doesn't really change, just that I draw smaller in them. So I don't think it makes that big of a difference to me, but I did some extra pages anyway, just in case. So let's get into it. And I'm gonna try to be really quick because there is a lot to go through. And I am able to talk a lot, so I'm gonna try to just flip through. Feel free to mute if you don't like listening to me talk. Like, that's totally okay if you just mute the video, if you skip around to just kind of see what I'm doing, like whatever floats your boat. It's totally fine by me. Not that you need my permission to do it, but whatever. So I'm gonna try to go pretty quick. I did a lot of studies in these sketchbooks. One thing that I would suggest to any who maybe are new to drawing or is maybe rather than doing a set volume, you might consider doing like a set time each night rather than volume, in case it takes you a little bit longer. The good thing about doing a set volume, like there's a little bit of pros and cons. So for a set volume, it'll help you to be more confident and efficient with your brush strokes or pen strokes, and it will help you to go faster. But this may not be the best for just beginners, so that's something to keep in mind. There's definite pros and cons. It's definitely valuable to do it this way, but I think it would also be valuable if you did a set time instead. It's up to you though. I had a great time doing the challenge, and I think I learned a lot. These are gestures from Bailey J's vlogs. I like to watch her vlogs, and so she got married while I was doing this month, and so there's some of her wedding vlog studies in here. These are from her bachelorette party. I had some really bad drawings. This is a terrible drawing of her, and I wrote down, like, I hope no one ever figures out who this was supposed to be, because it is a horrifying rendition of her. I mean, she was making a face, but still. And so this is something that I do to like compensate or to cope with bad drawings that I do, because like everybody has bad drawings and it's totally fine. But it is hard not to feel self-conscious about them if you're going out in public sometimes, so I like to kind of just like beat them to the punch and be like, look, I know this is a bad drawing, it's okay, I've learned from it and I'm moving on, basically. So anyway, I really liked this in Bailey J's wedding vlog, or bachelorette party vlog. Is that at the beginning of the night she got dressed up all cute like this, and then at the end of the night she ended up like this, and I just thought the dichotomy of that was really funny, and it was a fun vlog to watch. But yeah, I did some explorations for an old character of mine. She's a character that I invented in middle school, is when I first started to draw her. Some gestures. And so she's one that I've kind of revisited sometimes over the years. She was big for me when I was in high school, and then I kind of didn't do anything with her in college, so I kind of picked up where I left off in high school for this one. I just had a fun time just revisiting her, because she used to be like a total self-insert kind of thing, and so now that I'm not attached to her as a self-insert character anymore, I thought it was really fun to go back and try to glean like what I had to glean from that, so it was really fun. And it's something that I revisit a lot in this sketchbook, not so much in the second one though. I liked this character. This happened on accident. I need to go back and explore him some more in the future. Here's some more of that high school character, trying to just like age her down a little bit. See, like doing a little really minor costume studies or exploration there. But yeah, lots of gestures and studies in these sketchbooks. This was a really tough day right here that I was having, but I actually kind of really like it because I just kind of went, whenever I'm having a tough day, like something that always helps me to loosen up is doing gestures, and so I did that. It kind of got me into drawing again. I did a couple of like little doodles, and then I tried to study some buildings. Wasn't really getting into it, still had a really hard time, so I broke out the ballpoint pen and just like went to my reference blog. I have a characters tag where like anything that makes me think of like a character or something goes there, and so I started trying to do some like character design explorations off of it. And so I started off with this like lady, and something that I have been working on a lot in my drawings is to make the hands match the characters, because hands and feet are an area of huge weakness for me. And so I struggle with, so like sometimes it happens when I'm drawing a character, I get to the hands and I'm just like, all right, let's make this look like a hand rather than let's make this fit in with the rest of the character. And so like this one, she's got these nasty, disgusting hands that don't match the rest of her character at all. And so I decided to revisit her, and I actually ended up in a spot where I kind of really liked with her. I gave her little dainty, like, lady hands, and I think it matched a lot better, and like it's not a perfect character design, but it was really fun to get to this point, and I did the same thing with the squirrel. And so yeah, this was a really tough drawing day for me, but after I persisted, I actually ended up with several things that I really had fun with and I really enjoyed after I was done. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Here's some more from Bailey J's wedding vlogs. I really liked this page of study. Again, this is Bailey J and her family. I just thought they turned out well, like nice, clean studies, and the page isn't super gross and cluttered, which happens a lot to me. I'm really bad at planning out pages. I should have drawn more here. Whatever. But yeah, here's some more Croquis Cafe gestures. A note on Croquis Cafe, or however you pronounce that. They are a channel here on YouTube, and it's great for figure study reference. I draw cover-ups on my figures because I am often around children that I'm not related to, and so I don't, like, in case one of the kids gets a hold of my sketchbook, like, I don't want their parents to be like, oh, well, what's this, you know, like, so I just draw, like, cover-ups on my figures. So if you do decide to go to Croquis Cafe, just be aware, they do use nude models. If that is concerning to you, there's other resources that you can use as well. That will allow you to choose between nude and clothed, or that just have clothed models. So just a little heads up there. I have some other artist studies. I really like studying how other artists use line and trying to get into their heads a little bit and try to figure out like what kinds of shape language and line language they're using. Some prop elements. There's a lot of like, oh God, this is a really bad page. Yeah, more gestures, yeah. So there's a lot of prop and like background element studies in this, because it's something that I really need to work on, so that was a big thing for me. Also, I tried not to shy away from architecture, but I still struggle a lot with it. So this is a stress dream that I had, where I had my throat was slit, but I had to still kind of like go around life with my throat just like bleeding out. And so it was one of those dreams that, I mean, like, it's weird, like all dreams are, but one of those ones where like the emotion that you felt while in the dream just like stuck with me after I woke up. And so I did a little splash page of that, and it was fun, and I liked it. It was a fun Crayola doodle. There's some more of that character from middle school. This is how I used to draw her. This is when I first invented her in middle school, and this is kind of where I was right here at this point in the sketchbook with her. Still not happy with it, still planning on changing a lot. And then there was also, I'm just gonna flip forward real quick. I should have bookmarked this or something. Golly, where did that go? Maybe I should just wait until I get to it normally. Oh, here it is. This is how she was in high school. It's probably where I had done the most work on her, but she definitely, like, I was really into like anime, kind of gothic a little bit, and so she became very monotone. And so in these newer explorations that I've been trying to revisit her, I kind of thought like, oh well, that like black and white and red thing is kind of fun to play with, and so I kind of tried to play with that a little bit in her hair, but earth tones definitely do not go with it. So that's not final at all, but yeah, so it was just kind of fun to see the three like comparisons of how she's evolved. And so here's some more explorations from, like, I was kind of thinking about some sort of gender role thing in the like village where she grew up or whatever. I thought it might be kind of fun to do, like, oh, maybe the females of her species or whatever are always born with light colored hair and eyes, and then the males always have red eyes and dark hair, but then when she was born she had a little bit of both. I don't know, but it's maybe a little contrived. I also kind of had in mind that she's like a werewolf or werecat kind of creature, and so I was doing a little bit, not the guinea pigs, the guinea pigs are just guinea pigs, but I was trying to do some like big cat studies to see if I could think of a good direction to take that in. And I haven't really yet, but oh well, it's been fun still. Some more gestures. These are from Senshi Stock, which is a really good resource, especially if you are not really into nude figure studying. These are really great because they wear cover-ups. So yeah. Some more things. I was catching up on My Hero Academia, drawing some characters from that, and that's one of the characters that I ended up revisiting later. Here's my old high school character. I did a little comic. I guess that might be spoilers, so maybe don't look. But yeah, just some more character things. This is Garrel from the Adventure Zone. I wanted to get his mullet to be nice. So yeah, I'm doing some face caricature expression studies, something that I default to a lot. Here's that character from My Hero Academia. I thought it would be fun to kind of visit him and see if I could, I don't know, change him into like a different style a little bit. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good little exercise. The prompt here was Ghost Drag Queen, and I totally failed on it. Just sad because it was a really cool prompt, but well, whatever. I did a lot of My Little Pony background and environment prop element studies. I really like the design in that show. And prop design is really difficult for me, so I tried to do like where I like got used to drawing in the style, and then I tried to like take some of my like items in my room and like try to put them into the style of the show, and I definitely did not succeed, but it's good for me. I should have done more like this kind of thing, but oh well. Composition studies from the Ancient Mages of the Bride. Some more costume explorations on that middle school, high school character. Try to think of like, oh, what kinds of things would they be doing in this village, and how would their costume reflect it. Some more Croquis Cafe gestures. Gonna try to speed through these a little bit. This is again for that character. Try to think of like a fortune teller seer kind of character. Animal studies, trying to simplify things down to be really simple shapes, but also throwing in some semi-realistic studies in there. Myself, caricature expression studies. This was a really tough day, like just nothing was working out, so I finally gave up and tried to like embrace it a little bit. And I thought it would be really funny if I went and I did goofy versions of like famous paintings, but it wasn't really that funny, and so I did a couple pages and then I was like, nah, I'll just move on. And I just did some really simple studies from the Reddit Gets Drawn subreddit, which is a really good resource for also things, great like warm-ups and stuff if you're looking to practice. And I ended up on that day, even though I was having a really tough day, I ended up landing in a spot that I was really pretty happy with right there. And then I kind of lost it a little bit, but yeah, whatever. I liked that one too, because it is a kid that actually looks like a kid. That's really hard for me to do. It was so good that I didn't want to mess up the other side and have anything bleed through, so I left that side intentionally blank. Well, mostly blank. Anyway. Here's studies from Bailey J's wedding vlog. And then interspersed with, this is that little mouse character from that other painting that I did. I really like that character and that painting, except for the like actual painting part of it. Like everything else about it I really liked. Just that the painting turned out so bad. Here's some more studies from Billie J's Wedding Vlog. I really liked this moment where her mom helped her into her dress, and so I did some little sketches of that moment. And this one was my favorite, except that I accidentally made her mom look a little bit evil, which was sad because I liked it other than that. But oh well. Yeah, more of that. It was a really nice vlog. It was fun to watch that. Here's some more Reddit Gets Drawn things. I was trying to get back to where I was the previous day, but did not succeed. This one was a bit of a waste of space. Some cat stories to kick off day 12. Trying to simplify things down and get down to like a really basic flat shape. This is other artists' work again, bright pink marker. Corey Loftus might be my favorite artist, and so I was doing some studies off of his work. These are studies from an Instagram, Theodora, I think it's Theedora on Instagram, and they have these photos of cattle. They're like glamour photos almost, and they have like all sorts of different breeds of cattle and everything. It's really cool, and so I did some studies on that because it's hard for me to draw cows and let them have any sort of rhythm. Like, they're such boxy creatures that they always end up looking really stiff, and so I thought it would be really good for me to do some studies. And they had some funky breeds with this hair, and so I tried to turn that into a character design, this preppy cowboy kind of character who dresses kind of country, but you know that he's way too fancy to actually do any work in the field, that kind of thing. I liked this gesture a lot. I think that was probably my most successful gesture of the night. Yeah, more of that. More of these cattle. It was fun. And then I decided that I was going to do a Pokemon-a-thon, which I decided I would draw the first 151 Pokemon in order, and not doing anything else in between, which was kind of a stupid idea. I don't think I really got that much out of it because I was really focused on doing I wanted to take them over into my own style, but I also wanted to do this one and done thing, so I didn't want to just copy down the reference picture on Wikipedia. I wanted to make it my own, but I also didn't allow myself to do any exploration especially with the ones that I was not super familiar with, and so a lot of them end up being pretty meh. But whatever. I mean, it was still fun, and I like Pokemon, so whatever. But yeah, so these are just Pokemans having to draw the Nidorina, Nidoking ones. Those are always really tough with all the spikes and big shapes everywhere. And then you go from Nidoking to Clefairy, and you're just because it's such a nice simple shape. It's so nice to go from those big gross ones to the little ones. It is really interesting how simple some of them are. But yeah, I wasn't super successful because I wanted to kind of try to take them over into my own style. And over here I started letting myself experiment a little bit on the ones that I wasn't super familiar with. But yeah, I wanted to take them over to my own style, but I don't think I was that successful. And here you see me start to kind of wilt. I think this is the first time where I started falling asleep while taking this. So over here you can see my lines get really wobbly. And then I get over here and over in Cadaver I'm doing pretty good until I get down to the feet, and I just kind of at the end because I'm just so tired. And then I shake myself awake a little bit for the Alakazam, and then I drew this. And this when I was done drawing it, I was oh, that's a good drawing. That's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. It's passable. Yeah, that's a good drawing. I did that. I'm happy with it. And so I moved on to Machoke, and that's the point at which I was oh, yeah, I guess I'm a little tired and not doing the best artwork I can right now. I better go to bed. So then I woke up in the morning and I looked at this and what the heck is this? His hands are two different. I drew a human hand, a lady human hand right here, and then on the other one this shapeless blob. And seriously, I can remember finishing that one and being yeah, that's cool, that's good, that's a good drawing. And just I came to it in the morning. I'm just what the? So I had to start over on Machop and Machoke. Machamp is really hard to draw. It was nice to go to drawing the Bellsprout family after Machamp. something that was really interesting that I noted after I was done with these ones, because I had just drawn like Primate and the Choke and the Champ and everything, and then the Geodude series, was that like I don't feel like I got better at drawing like muscly man arms after drawing all those, just that I got like more impatient and sloppy with them. So it was interesting, and definitely not a good thing to realize that I wasn't trying as hard as I could be, and I definitely did not learn as much as I could have learned from those. So that's something that like I definitely was tried to be careful of from then on in Sketchbook Slam, is like making sure that I'm not just mindlessly doodling, and that my drawings and my explorations and everything actually are giving me real value. I really liked these two. I thought they turned out well. So yeah, so that's something that I tried to keep in mind throughout the rest of it. And I did get a little bit cleaner with the Pokemon-a-thon as I went along. Like, this is the point at which I was like, you know what, I don't think I'm really getting anything out of this, but I've come so far, and I'm so far into it, that I might as well just finish it up. So I did. Scyther was a hot mess. That was not a great drawing. Oh well. I liked the Gyarados though. That was kind of fun. That poor Eevee. It didn't turn out well. I revisit it later. But oh well. So I'm getting to the end here. And these ones, these simpler ones, like, especially like, I don't know, like Jigglypuff too, like those little ones, little round ones, the ones that don't have really a whole lot going on, like, I kind of felt like I was just copying down the reference on those ones. Like, I tried like rotating their bodies sometimes, or just like flipping it the other way, but there's just not a whole lot to do with their bodies, and so like the one pose that's possible is like the pose that they're in on the reference, and I felt kind of bad about that, but oh well. And look at this, I got so excited here. I'm just like really like rushing through it because I'm like, I'm almost done, And I finally finished it, hooray! And I even wrote down, I was like, I don't think I got much out of it though. But oh well. These are some more studies from Bailey Day's Budding Blog. Some character ones. That lady was super ripped. That was #goals. So then I moved on to doing some more composition studies, trying to do some like architecture studies, like background, environment, prop elements. These are studies from Annette Marnat on Blogspot, ANNETTEMARNAT on Blogspot. I highly suggest you look her up if you are not familiar with her. She has some really great rhythm in her shape language. Like I don't know, I just really love her drawings. I definitely would recommend it. So I did some studies off of her, and then I tried to kind of apply what I had learned to some like other environment studies of my own. And it was fun. I think it was a good exercise for me. I think I'll go back and revisit that digitally, because it'll be good to have something like an opaque medium to visit those with. But yeah, there's composition, background, prop element studies. Oop. Not a whole lot that's exciting here. Some of these are not very good, but you know what? I still learn from them, and it's okay. I was thinking about doing a storyboard project, so I started working on some character designs for that. End of book 1. Oof. See how fast I can go through book 2. I don't want to spend too much time doing this. I've already spent way too long. Swatched all of my Crayola markers. There's some studies from Mindhunter, because I was thinking about getting back into like a storyboarding kind of mindset, and so I'm trying to pay attention to like light and shadow and how it helps tell the story in this scene, and just like camera angles and the camera direction and everything, and keeping track of all that. So yeah, it was really interesting, because I have this light on the side that like shone directly on the protagonist's faces. And they always like use light to tell like where they're going, which was really interesting. Some more guinea pigs. Some more work on that storyboarding project. Just doing some character designs, trying to figure out how I wanted to draw these characters. Here's those Eevee revisits that I was talking about, because I did such a bad job on the Eevees during the Pokemon-a-thon. Some more Mindhunter costume studies this time. Those 70s costumes. And then I got into vampires, because it was Halloween season. So I started off with like a cute lady vampire, and then I wanted to go more monstrous, but you all already know this, I think, because I think I mentioned that in my vampire video that I did. He's coming up soon. It's Vampire Bat Studies, Monster Vampire Studies, or Explorations, I guess. And I landed there right here with him, but I wasn't super happy with him, so after a while I went to do Pokemon again, but I was a little bit looser with the Pokemon-a-thon this time. I was just like, you know, sometimes I'll draw Pokemon and I'll just go in order, but I'm not gonna make myself draw only Pokemon. And I came up with some like compositions and stuff, like trying to like make sure that I understand the shape of the Pokemon a little bit better before I like go and try to draw it. Came up with some potential compositions for finished pieces with some of these. These are Ghibli background studies from Nashka. More gestures from Croquis Cafe. It's really good. When I was in college and I had figure drawing classes, like all of our models for our figure drawing classes looked the same. They were all female dance majors, and so they're all like super fit, super tiny little like girls. And we never got any male models, we never got any overweight models, we never got any older models, and so Croquis Cafe is really nice because I finally get to draw some other body types for once in my life. It's good. These are from, there's an animation that Passion Pictures, I think, did for the 2016 World Cup. And I really liked how they had designed, like they were all super athletic males, but like within that like narrow category of body type, I thought they did a really cool job of exploring different subtypes of super fit athletic male. So that was, I think, really good for me to study, and appreciated that. Some more plants, composition studies, a little bit of architecture in there, a little bit of trying to simplify and study light and shadow. Well, not really shadow, more just light and dark. Some more Pokemon stuff. This is some Bad Times. This is a study off of a pose in One Punch Man by Murata. It was really good. Here's my vampire doodles that I was doing. I was trying to draw my Speedo vampire. Here he is, sexy man. I still really like him as a character, actually. I don't know if I'll ever give him an actual costume. Some more Pokemon. I accidentally drew Typhlosion in a weird pose, and it kind of looked like he was dancing, so I did some like little gestures of that. Crocodile Studies. Or not crocodiles, sorry. These are alligators, not crocodiles. Some of you probably just laughed at me when I said crocodiles. Whatever. Oh yeah, and then I found a bedbug in my apartment. That's the reason why I took a couple extra days to do the Sketchbook Slam Challenge, because I found a bedbug in my apartment, and I had to like deep clean everything. So that was one day that I was like, alright, I'm just gonna use my sketching time to deep clean the apartment tonight. And then these are some studies, by the way. These are some studies of a friend's D&D character. She gave me a Pinterest board to go off of. But yeah, so like that was one night, and then after I contacted my apartment office, I wonder if you can see that and make sure, because that one's lighter. This is the only pencil drawing that I have in this book. So there it is, ta-da! But I went to the office and they're like, oh, well, we'll make sure to treat your apartment for bed bugs. So that involves me, like, if you've never had bed bugs, you have to move all of your furniture up from the walls, vacuum under everything super thoroughly. Everything material, like stuffed animals, blankets, clothes, anything that can be laundered needs to go into a plastic bag and packed up, and then when you go to unpack it, you have to run it through the dryer for 2 cycles on the highest heat setting before putting it back. And so I'm still actually in the midst of doing that, and so basically it's like moving just on very, very short notice, and so I spent 2 days doing the bedbug stuff. I had to pause my last couple days of the Sketchbook Slam. But yeah, so I paused a little bit in the middle there to do those. Hopefully we don't actually have bed bugs. I still think it was a bat bug, not a bed bug. And also, like, having torn our apartment apart now, and like having explored every single bit of it, like, I did not see any discarded bed bug skins, so I don't actually think, or any other evidence of bed bugs, so I'm thinking that those ones, either they're bat bugs or they came over from another apartment, which, I mean, I guess neither of those thoughts are super comforting, but oh well. Somewhere Reddit gets drawn. Doodles over here. Revisited the sailor, or not revisited, this is the first time. This is my second take, can you tell? Somebody made a comment about how I'm kind of all over the place style-wise, and they're like, can you even like draw something of the same style? So I was like, I'm pretty sure I can. I think I can, and so that's what I was trying to draw here. Because I do like to experiment a lot with style, and so I came up with a style that was unfamiliar to me and tried to like learn it, which like it's not perfect, but I don't know. It was really cute. I liked it. I liked that one the best. I think it turned out the best. Here's some more studies. I do a lot of studies. Here's some more for that storyboarding project. I'm trying to kind of think of like character, trying to figure out how the characters would act. I forget if I mentioned it, but what I'm considering doing is the Dead Girl Walking reprise from the Heathers musical. So I'm just kind of trying to like figure out different character moments and what the acting would be like. Interspersed with some horse studies, because I love drawing horses. Something that I've drawn ever since I was a young child. Like, I didn't really draw that much when I was a kid, but I would draw horses. And so it's still one of my favorite things to draw. Some more of those cute little Sailor Moon characters. A little bit more of trying to figure out expressions and stuff. More expressions for that. Here's an artist, T Price on Tumblr, that I really liked, and so I was like, oh, it would be fun to see if I could emulate his style a little bit. So I studied deer, because I'm not super familiar with them. And then, so after doing all these studies, I then went and tried to match his style without matching like the character, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't think I was super successful with it, but I did get somewhere, at least with it. So, whatever. Here's some more gestures from Croquis Cafe. Got to draw an older lady for this one. It was really nice. And my pen ran out of ink. It was sad. Sad day. Gotta speed up. Gotta keep moving. Alright, so some architectural elements. Architecture, I forget if I mentioned, I probably did. Architecture is a big weak point of mine, and so I did try to not shy away from it. I didn't do as much architecture studies as I probably should have, but these are characters from Dragons and Places. It's Game Grumps' new D&D podcast. It's a fun podcast, I recommend it. And they have fun characters. And then I decided to practice gesture drawing. I went and looked at a reference and then tried to draw the gesture with a different body type than the original reference had, so it was interesting. I think it's a useful study, like exercise. I guess it's an exercise, not a study. So more guinea pigs. I really like guinea pigs. More environment studies. This is Evan Earl again. Some more of those cute little Sailor Moon style things. Some more Pokemon. Nice for alligator. I don't know how anybody, like everybody else who's done their 600-page sketchbook tour, has gotten it under half an hour, or well, around half an hour. But I think I'm sitting at 40 minutes? No, I guess I'm at 33 minutes. I might still make it. So here's some more Pokemon. Some more like planning out potential future pieces. I hope I get the chance to actually bring some of those to a finished state. That would be nice. Yeah. Some more gestures. I got really tired, you can tell, because my lines get pretty wobbly. And then the next day, a fresh start. Some more Pokemon. Here's some ghost Pokemon in the spirit of Halloween. This was I wanted to do the YouTube Arts Collective for this month, but with all the bedbug stuff, I never actually got around to being able to do it because I had to take off some time, and so. But I did do some explorations here. So the one that I wanted to do was the story of the youth who went forth to learn what fear was. And so I'm just kind of doing some character explorations for that. Like, I wanted him to be, like, vaguely European, and then eventually I was like, you know what? Basically, I just want him to be Kit Harington, so that's kind of what it turned into. The scene that I wanted to do was where he's confronted by some, like, kind of demon cats in this castle. So I'm doing some, like, big cat studies around here, trying to figure out how what would be a good way to stylize them. I liked this one, but I wasn't able to like hit on that stylization again, so I'll have to revisit that. Some more explorations of the youth, because in the story they make a point of him being like super handsome. So some castle interior, general composition studies, nothing in detail. Cleffa is so fun to draw. I did a couple pages of that Pokemon. That was a fun experience. And then here's some more of the, like, trying to figure out, like, I wanted him to have, like, wavy hair, like Kit Harington again, but, like, I was wanting to style it more concretely instead of just doing, like, a mass of curls. And so finally I landed on this, which I think is about where I'm going to take it if I'm able to finish it. I'd like to be able to, hoping to be able to do that next week, so fingers crossed that nothing else comes up. I do know that we have a follow-up Bedbug Chuck next week. I don't know how in-depth that's going to be, but I guess we'll find out. Did some cat studies, just domestic cats this time. Gestures. And then I was continuing along the second Pokemon farm a little bit. I want to get back into animation, so I was doing some. Igglypuff terrifies me, by the way, which is why I draw her creepy. But she's also very simple, and so I was just trying to practice a little bit of squash and stretch. It'd be really fun to do some animation. I'm kind of thinking about doing that for a future video, is doing an animation process instead of just an illustration process, but we'll see. I haven't like actually brought anything to like full animation in a long time. These are from Fanny Rosie on Tumblr. She has really cool fashion stuff and it's a really good reference for costumes, especially if you're into the like classic Lolita style. So some more Reddit Gets Drawn studies. I was watching Planet Earth here, so there's a little polar bear character, and then I just did some like composition studies from the show. A little bit of animal gestures and stuff. Composition. My guinea pig just made a weird noise. But I'm almost done, so let's finish here. I really liked this. I was getting really tired, so I drew a tired not to. And then I was like, oh, I can keep drawing. And so then I kept drawing. And like, I meant to draw a beak here, but instead I drew a horrifying, creepy mouth. So, yeah, I was really tired. And then this one too, this is also really funny to me because like when I drew this, I literally thought that I drew something like this, but instead I had like this like 6-year-old drew like a cloud kind of shape. Yeah, I was really tired there. Oh gosh, yeah, that was weird. That was a weird experience. And here's my last day. After I had this, I did my little drawing of myself. I'm in the endless cycle of laundry right now because I still have, I think, like 15 more bags to launder. But oh well. Some stuff. At the end, I asked a friend for ideas. I felt like drawing fan art, and so I asked a friend what I should draw, and her boyfriend suggested Pin Up Gandalf. So that's who you have to thank for this amazing piece of art right here. Also, I really like Gem and the Holograms. And this dress is from Fashions of History Tumblr. It's a really great historical fashion reference if you are on Tumblr. So, and then I was listening to Melanie Martinez. I was looking at her Crybaby music video, and I just like realized Melanie Martinez has like really expressive eyebrows. I mean, less so her mouth, I guess, but like her eyebrows, like I have not ever seen like where it can just go straight into like a downward curve like that. Like usually there's just like the tip of it will be curved upward. I don't know. It was crazy. So I had to do some like facial expression studies from that video. It was really fun. And then here's Joyce from Stranger Things. Anxiety Mom. All of my studies were super crooked. And I ended up writing about it because I was just so frustrated about it. Writing things out like that really helps me to move on with my life whenever I have a sketch that I'm not happy with. I did a little splash page, did some 11 studies, turned it into little character design, some more gestures. I did some negative space Pichus where I tried to make the Pichu match the gesture that I had drawn. Some of them worked out, and some of them not so much. Like these ones were okay. This one less so. Trying to make his tiny little nubbin arms reach the top of his head. Oh well. It was still fun. And then some Crocodile Studies, some composition studies from Stranger Things. Some more, I devolved into like face expression studies. That's something that I do when I don't know what to draw a lot. But yeah, no, it's and then I was like, oh wait, it's Dino November, I should learn how to draw dinosaurs real quick. So I started trying to study Triceratops, but I didn't get far enough before I came to the end of the sketchbook. So it was sad, but that's okay, I can still draw more Triceratops. So anyway, that is my sketchbook slam. Oops, just knocked my light over. It was good for me, I think, definitely. And I had a really great time doing it. It's definitely a good challenge to undertake if you are wanting to get yourself a little bit more confident and quicker and more efficient with your lines. So, and if that's your purpose, definitely do it in pen, I think. So, I know that I spent most of mine in ballpoint pen, which is like the pencil of pens, because you can still sketch with it. But yeah, it's still really good for me to have to live with not erasing. I think it's a good exercise. But yeah, so I had some sketches that I really liked, a lot of sketches that I really didn't like, but that's okay because like everybody has those like bad sketches and you just have to get them out of your system and then you can move on and do better things and you can learn from them and it's great. So thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Thanks for watching this video and I will see you again in my next one. Bye-bye!